In this video, I'm going to explain about Dataverse virtual tables. So Dataverse virtual tables are tables where the actual data resides in an external data source. So the Dataverse virtual tables are just a window to view the data in the external data source. In this slide, we can see we are having one external data source and we are having Dataverse virtual table, and both are connected by a data provider. And you can see we are having bidirectional arrows also, which means whatever updates are done in one data source, that gets reflected in the other data source. So now we'll go ahead and create a virtual data table. Here I am having one university department table, and here we are having different departments. So these are the different departments, and along with this I am having one model driven apps also, and this app shows the data from that university departments table. Apart from this, I am having one SharePoint list which is university students, and I want to show this data in this model driven app. However, we know that model driven app supports only Dataverse as a data source. We can't directly import data from this SharePoint list. So this can be a use case for creation of a virtual data table. So I'll go ahead and create a virtual data table. For this, we have to go to tables, new table, create a virtual table, and I'll select SharePoint from here. And in this window, we can see there are multiple data sources here. And right now, I'm not sure if creation of virtual table is supported for all these data sources, because in this banner, we can see this message that currently we support SharePoint and SQL Server. Let's say we are having a data source and Dataverse doesn't natively support creation of virtual table for that data source, then we have an option of creating our custom connection and then creation of virtual table using that custom connection. But that part won't be included in this video. So I have selected the SharePoint and I'll click on next. Here I'll select my SharePoint site. Next. This window will list all the SharePoint lists which are there in our SharePoint site. I'll select my SharePoint list, and in this window it fetched different details from the SharePoint list, and it has auto populated all the fields. For example, the display name of our virtual table will be university students, schema name will be same, and for the primary field column, it has fetched the title column from a SharePoint list. And apart from this, in the bottom, we can see there are three columns. This first column, this is the column name from my SharePoint list. The second column, this contains the display name of the columns which will be created in my virtual table. And in this third column, this has the schema name of the virtual table which will be created. One thing which we can notice, in my SharePoint list, I have updated the title column. Sorry, I have renamed the title column to email. That's why here we can see the display name of this title column, it is email. And I'll click on next. In this window, it shows some high level details from both the data sources. I'll click on finish. So it will create the data virtual table. Yeah, so it has created the virtual table and we can see the data from the SharePoint list. It has all the columns. And now we are good to add this table to our model driven apps. But prior to that, we will update the view and forms for this data, for this virtual table. Before that, we can see here the table type is a virtual table. And yeah, I'll go ahead and first update the form, main form. Currently, in the main form, we are having only the email column. We will add others columns also. Yeah, save and publish. I'll do the same thing for view also. Public view. I'll add other columns also. Save and publish. Now we are good to add this table to our model driven apps. Uh, I'll add a new page, Dataverse table. I'll search for the table. Now it has added. We can see it has data from my virtual table. I'll go ahead and create a new row to this. I'm not sure why I'm getting this message. I'll refresh this page. New. I'll add email. Date of birth. In my SharePoint list, date of birth is a date type column. So in my virtual table also, the date of birth column is a date type. That's why we can see this calendar popping up. I'll select again. This department is also a choice column in my SharePoint list. So in my virtual table also, this department column is a choice type column, and the choices are also auto populated in my virtual table. So I'll select department, save and close. Now I'll see if this new row is reflected in my SharePoint list or not. Refresh. Yeah, we can see it, the new row in my SharePoint list also. So let's say if I'm adding any row here in SharePoint list, then that row will also get reflected in the virtual table. And not only adding of rows, but in case we make any edit to any row or we delete any row, then that will also get propagated to the other data source. So after this, I have noted down some scenarios where we can use virtual tables. First is when saving Dataverse storage space is essential. We know that Dataverse table has a storage capacity. If we go beyond that capacity, then we have to buy additional storage, which involves cost. So this can be a scenario for creation of Dataverse table. Second is when a single source of truth has to be maintained. We don't want duplication of data across multiple sources. In that case, we can create Dataverse virtual table. Uh, Third is when the external data source is already in use by other applications or users. So let's say, for example, this SharePoint list, this is many other users are already using this list. So in that case, we don't want to transfer this data from the SharePoint list to Dataverse table. So as a workaround, we can have virtual table for that. Similarly, let's say a lot of other applications are built on top of this SharePoint list. In that case also, it won't be easy, or I would say that it will take some effort to point those applications from this SharePoint list to that new Dataverse table. So in that case also, we can create a virtual table. And in the final slide, I have listed down some limitations of virtual table. First is virtual tables can only be organizational tables. So security wise, there are two types of Dataverse tables. One is users and teams table. The other is organizational tables. Users and teams tables support row level security, but organizational tables that doesn't support row level security. And I can show this in the Dataverse table also. If I go to the department table, if I go to columns, and here we can see these columns. So these columns are used for importing row level security. But if I go to my students table and if I go to columns, we don't have those columns here. So we can't have row level security in the virtual table. Second is similar to row level security, we can't have column level security also in virtual tables. Third is not all column types from the data source are supported. For example, in the SharePoint list, let's say we are having a person type column. So virtual tables, they don't support person type column. Similarly, there can be many other data types also, especially complex data types, which might not be supported in virtual table. And finally, auditing is not supported in virtual tables. And I have listed just few limitations of virtual table. If we go to official documentation from Microsoft, then we can see there are many other limitations also. So you can always refer this official documentation. So yeah, that's it about virtual tables. Thank you.